almost. I've been living in this place. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 27th, 2022, and we are here for a special town board and a CDA meeting. As always, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Tim, can you please take the lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim, and we are here tonight for one purpose, for a qualified and eligible sponsor hearing for RXR and GGV as master developers for the transit-oriented development project plan for the Railroad Avenue Urban Renewal Plan. For tonight's hearing, in an effort to be efficient and to ensure the record for each as identical, we are going to open the town board meeting and the CDA meeting simultaneously. This approach would avoid the necessity of duplicate hearings. The purpose of these hearings is to engage the public, and I hope we have a strong public participation. This is a two-way process involving interaction and listening with the mutual goal of affording the applicant and the members of the public the opportunity to be heard. Just a little background on how we got here. In 1997, there was a designation of the Railroad Avenue area as an urban renewal area under New York State that allows the town and or the CDA to enter into public-private partnerships for urban renewal projects and developers that are determined to be qualified and eligible. You may have heard us refer to this process as the Q&E for these projects. This determination is necessary for the town to enter into contract with the development entities before us. The determination to designate a developer requires a four-pronged metric established by the town over the years. Metric number one, assess the experience of the individual, firm, or corporation with development, construction, management, and financing of similar projects in size and scope to the proposed project. Metric number two, demonstrate the ability to finance the acquisition of development of specific project proposed, including including a review by the CDA of pro forma financial statements for the proposed project, including sources and uses of funds. Certified personal and corporate financial statements of the applicant sponsor, including financial commitments of the participating lenders. In addition, proposed security for the project, business plans, economic analysis of the project, and past compliance with municipal law, rules, and regulations. Metric number three, demonstrate the integrity and responsibility of the applicant sponsor as determined by the CDA based upon appropriate investigation by the town attorney and consistent with the town's case law. Metrics number four, presentation by the public sponsor to the public at the prescribed hearing upon due notice at a public meeting of the CDA, providing an opportunity for the applicant sponsor to present its proposal and ability to meet the established criteria for designation by the CDA as a qualified and eligible sponsor pursuant to Section 507(2)(c) of Article 15 of the New York State General Municipal Law. We look forward to hearing from these two entities on this exciting project. When completed, we anticipate transformation of the railroad station with a vibrant, safe, and revitalized gateway to Riverhead that we can all be proud of. I am now going to turn this meeting over to our CDA Director, Dawn Thomas. Good evening, Dawn.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, Town Board, and Community Development Agency members. We are excited to be here tonight to hear RXR and GGV's application seeking approval as qualified and eligible sponsor for an urban renewal project in the vicinity of the Riverhead Railroad Station. This hearing is the culmination of 25 years of planning work and public engagement by the town of Riverhead in an effort to bring the most blighted area of our town back to life. I think this extended history of hard work that is now coming to fruition merits a brief historical overview. In 1997, as the supervisor mentioned earlier, the town of Riverhead adopted the Railroad Avenue Urban Renewal Plan and designated the long-blighted area of Railroad Avenue, Cedar Street, Court Street, as well as segments of Osborne Avenue and Griffin Avenue as the Railroad Street Urban Renewal Area. The goal of the plan was to reduce blight and stimulate economic development through public-private partnership by utilizing the techniques of acquisition, demolition, redevelopment, rehabilitation, code enforcement, and public improvements, as well as the potential for the creation of a transportation hub. Once the plan was created, the town of Riverhead and its community development agency worked toward achieving the goals of the plan by completing several additional strategic planning initiatives for the area, all of which involve significant public and stakeholder engagement. These include the 2016 Brownfield Opportunity Area Step 2 nomination, also known as the BOA, the 2020 Strategic Parking Plan, and the 2020 Strategic Transit-Oriented Development Plan. These plans, again created with deep public engagement, uniformly recommended that the addition of a mixed-use development to the railroad station area would enable the town to achieve the goals of the urban renewal plan and allow this important gateway to our town to be revitalized to bring life, business, and safety to the area, as well as increased parking opportunities. These goals, however, could not be achieved by the town on its own. Understanding that the town needed a private partner to help, and consistent with the aforementioned studies and public input, on March 25, 2021, the town board published a request for qualifications, RFQ, seeking proposals from qualified developers for the redevelopment of the town of Riverhead Street transit-oriented development located within the Railroad Avenue Urban Renewal Area. The town received 7 quality responses to the RFQ and immediately put together a committee of local business and civic leaders to vet the proposals and make recommendations to the board. In addition, the town hired National Development Council, NDC, one of the oldest national economic development not-for-profit organizations, performing work exclusively for municipalities and local government to help analyze the proposals. Over the course of a year, the RFQ committee met many times to review the proposals and hear presentations and ideas of the developers that responded to the RFQ. Following this extensive review, the committee examined the information collected and submitted a report to the town board recommending that RXR and GGV, Georgia Green Ventures, be selected as master developer for the Railroad Avenue TOD project. This recommendation was approved by the town board, which thereafter determined RXR and Georgia Green Ventures to be named master developer, subject to negotiated terms and provisions pursuant to general municipal law related to the project. In early 2021, in part due to the extensive history of planning, public engagement, and selection of a master developer for the TOD, the town was awarded the New York State Downtown Revitalization Initiative, DRI grant, which resulted in yet another opportunity for public engagement on this project. After several public meetings and other opportunities for public discussion, the local planning committee that was selected to vet the DRI projects recommended the TOD project for funding of $2.75 million. I know it may have seemed quiet since then, but there has been a tremendous amount of work done over the past several months to get us to this point. The town attorney's office, the CDA, the IDA, the town's consultants at NDC have been working continuously with RXR and GGV, as well as the County of Suffolk, who has been incredibly supportive of the project, to refine the details of the plan, funding sources, as well as contracts for purchase and sale of various targeted properties. Now it is ready to be presented to the board and to the public. Should this board determine, or these boards, as a CDA and town board, determine RXR and GGV to be qualified and eligible to sponsor this urban renewal project as required by urban renewal law, we'll be ready to move forward to the next exciting steps. The motto of our office is, change is going to happen. Don't let it happen to you, make it happen for you. This is exactly what we are doing with this project. It is our sincere hope that the ongoing input of our residents and stakeholders over the last 25 years, together with the partnership of RXR and GGV, will ensure that this project fulfills the goals and objectives set forth by our community over all these many years. I would like to now turn the hearing over to RXR and GGV so they can make their presentation to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so who's going first? Can you please introduce yourself and who you are?
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Council, CDA board members. My name is Joe Graziosi, Graziosi. I am the Executive Vice President of Residential Construction and Development for RXR. With me this evening, I have a bunch of members of our team, which I will introduce in a moment. Prior to doing so, I would like to enter into the record this evening 2 documents. One will be a copy of the presentation that we will be presenting this evening, and the other will be a list of various documents that include, but not limited to, letters from our companies, collective companies, RXR and GGV, CFOs, stating the ability of our financial capabilities to be able to work on this project, various letters from lenders that are very interested in this project, and numerous letters from municipalities that we are currently working with or continue to work with or have worked with in the past where we've had successful public-private partnerships. So I'll just...
Well, thank you, Mr. Graziosi. We'll have my deputy town attorney, my deputy supervisor take the documents, and to be transparent, we'll put them on the net as part of this hearing. Devin, can you ensure that that goes up on the internet? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. And Ms. Thomas gave a great sort of intro for this process, and I don't want the board members, nor more importantly, or equally importantly, the audience and the residents of Riverhead to lose sight of the fact that we have been at this with you all for over 18 months. So it's not like we've just shown up this evening for this qualified and eligible hearing. And I will assure you, Madam Supervisor, that during our presentation, which we will be as brief as we can be, but we want to make sure that we use our time efficiently, as you stated earlier, we will more than exceed the 4 points in your metrics that you laid out earlier to ensure that we can be your partner on a go-forward basis in this very exciting project, which we are extremely excited about. We see this in many, many municipalities that we work in. We've had some great experience. We continue to have great experience. We've learned a lot over the last 18 months from you and your staff here in Riverhead about what's going to work here, because the recipe at the end of the day is not always the same in every community. And we want to make certain that what we're bringing to this is a mixed-use opportunity with vibrancy that will allow for people to live, work, play, and enjoy an area that, frankly, is currently a parking lot that can be a lot more than that. And lastly, I'd like to mention before I introduce my team, and I have to suggest and mention that your staff, particularly Dawn Thomas and Anne Marie Prudenti, have worked with us tirelessly, Supervisor, tirelessly over the last 18 months to ensure that the town of Riverhead and the residents of Riverhead are going to get the best out of this public-private partnership. So I couldn't go this evening without mentioning that to you and this town board, and they definitely deserve the recognition of that, and I compliment them. I've been doing this with my gray hair for over 40 years, and I can tell you that it's not in every town that we have women that work with us, and men, in the state and the way that they have worked with us, and we really look forward to that long-term relationship.
Well, thank you for that. Ms. Thomas was classified by one of our local newspapers as the Public Servant of the Year, and well said. Everybody believes that, whether you're a public entity, private entity, and it's been my pleasure since I took office in January 2020 to work with her, and your words are heard across the town board and the residents.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Madam Supervisor, she has my vote on that as well, so thank you again. I'll go to my introductions and I'll be brief. So on the RXR side, this evening I have Joanne Manieri, who is the Senior Executive Vice President, COO of Construction and Development for RXR. Myself, I introduced Thomas Kelly, Senior Project Manager, Alicia Prasad, behind me, Project Manager. On the GGV side, my partners, David Gallo, President, Matt Ardito, Vice President, Allison, Senior Project Manager. I think we have Jean Langone here this evening, right? Jean is here. And then Marty, who wasn't able to be here this evening, but is here in spirit, of course. And then, of course, one of our great partners, our architect and designers and visionaries at the end of the day, all the way from the great state of Maryland, Eric Alessia, who is here this evening, will talk through our plan, and then our Land Use Counsel, David Gilmartin from Greenberg Trout. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Joanne Maneri, who will talk a little bit about RXR's capabilities.
Good morning, Ms. Maneri. Good afternoon, excuse me, Ms. Maneri. I know, good evening. I think you have a video somewhere along the line. Was it for you?
No, it's at the end.
It's at the end. Do we have a copy of it so we can bring it up? Oh, you do have it. Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Okay,
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Madam
Yes.
Supervisor, Town Board, and CDA Board members. I'm here to talk a little bit about RXR. Are we starting? Okay, great, the slides are up. RXR is a private real estate owner, investor, operator, and developer. We are a fully integrated firm with over 500 employees. We've managed over $22 billion of gross asset value, own 30 million square feet of commercial properties, and over 7,000 units of operating residential properties with a development pipeline to come. The skill sets of our employees include property management, construction, development, asset management, investment management, HR, of course, and IT. We have a diverse portfolio of projects, from commercial to mixed-use residential master plans to last-mile facilities to infrastructure. And RXR's core values are based upon the philosophy, doing good and doing well means doing better. We believe in always doing the right thing and leading with bold ideas. We believe in striving for excellence and cultivating trusted long-term relationships. We believe in being accountable to all of our stakeholders, but most importantly, to the communities where we operate. We know the success of any company rests on how effectively it focuses on its people and its customers. And at RXR, we know we only succeed when the communities we develop in succeed. Next slide, please. And we are committed to our communities and approach each development as a true long-term relationship. We understand the importance of collaboration, community-based planning, and effective public-private partnerships. And we also bring our relationships, as Joe mentioned, with top architects, zoning professionals, contractors, lenders, and investors to successfully deliver our projects. But as big as we have become, project by project, we do believe in the strength and the power of local. Our experienced senior management team, all here today, Joe introduced them, will all have direct and have had direct involvement with this development and are part of the Long Island community. And at RXR, we support our customers and communities through social impact investing and ESG initiatives, which are integrated throughout our business. And we do this by investing in job creation and job training programs, small business development, promoting MWBE and local business participation, as well as cleaning up brownfield sites. And we're innovative. In 2020, we created the RXR Volunteer Platform, which served over 260 small businesses and nonprofit institutions. We are committed to delivering this project and have the financial and organizational capability to do so. Next slide, please. We bring a proven track record as master plan developers. This slide outlines some of the economic benefits our developments have delivered to the communities: construction and permanent jobs, local and hyperlocal contract awards, and MWBE participation. First one here is Garvey's Point in Glen Cove, which Joe will talk more about later. We've spent over 10 years cleaning the brownfield site and have delivered 3 buildings with 700 rental and for-sale units, along with a vibrant mixed-use community and spectacular public open space. Garvey's Point created over 1,500 construction and permanent jobs, over $140 million of local and hyperlocal contract awards, with 41% of WBE participation. We're the master developer in the city of New Rochelle, where we've already delivered 2 buildings with 634 rental units and are in construction with our third for 390 rental units. Again, creating over 1,600 construction and permanent jobs and over $160 million of local and hyperlocal contract awards, and $40 million of WBE participation. And the last project that's shown on this slide is our project Sawyer Place in Yonkers, a block away from a train station where we delivered 438 units, again, providing the construction and permanent jobs and contract awards. And we hope to do that here in Riverhead. And RXR has focused on the demand for multifamily around transportation and has embarked on a strategy to fill that demand by working closely with the local municipality and community to create their vision. Our experience and proven track record has allowed us to continue to build this portfolio of successful master plan developments. But we know in order to be successful, we must partner with well-led municipalities who are focused and committed to well-planned economic development in their region, and the town of Riverhead certainly is. And the next slide is a map of our metropolitan portfolio. As I mentioned, we're in Westchester County, Stamford, Connecticut, Brooklyn, Queens. We're doing a site now in the Bronx, and of course, here on Long Island. And now I would like to introduce our partner in this project, David Gallo of GGV. Many of you already know David, but I'd like to share when I first met David. When I was the Deputy County Executive of Economic Development and Planning in Suffolk County during County Executive Ballone's first term. David was working on a multifamily development here in Riverhead, and he was able to enlist the support of the county for his project. And the project I'm referring to is right up the block, called Riverview Lofts. What a fabulous example of what effective collaboration between the public and private sector can accomplish, and a great example of how the town and the county working together to create and enhance communities and stimulate economic activity. And we're looking forward to doing it again. Thank you all. David?
Good afternoon, Mr. Gallo.
Good evening, Madam
Good
Supervisor.
evening. Keep on staying. I'm stuck on that afternoon. That's what happens when you're in budget time. And you're going 24 hours a day, but we're almost there by Friday. So
Well,
it's good to see you here, and
Well, I only have
Go forward.
a few slides, and it's a very, very hard, tough tack to follow with RXR, and all I could say is it's wonderful to be their partners. I have a few slides, and I plan on telling you a little bit about Georgica Green Ventures and our qualifications, but before I do, I just want to say that I echo everything that Joe had said, and all of the hard work that has went in over the last 18 months with the staff here, and Dawn and Anne Marie. It's been a lot of fun and very exciting. I also want to acknowledge the leadership of the town board here and the supervisor for having the courage to allow projects like this to happen and giving us the ability to present tonight and giving us sort of the momentum to hopefully continue to move forward. So, Georgica Green Ventures was founded in 2010, and the idea and background was, and the principle was to create workforce housing in every community, and that diversity of race and religion and age make our communities better and our children smarter. And, over the last 12 years, we've accomplished, and I'll show you on the next page, over 1,500 units and $800 million in development. The things that we have focused on hasn't just been workforce housing development, but creating housing for our veterans, creating housing for domestic violence victims and families, also our seniors within the community, and of course, downtown redevelopment, similar to what we've done here in Riverhead. For us, a lot of companies, RXR excluded, and GGV do not treat real estate like a commodity, right? We want to develop assets that are going to be positive for the community, and there's been really 3 pillars for us, which is to deliver super high-quality housing, efficient and sustainable construction, and effective property management. If we can go to the next slide. So this particular slide shows the geographic region that we have developed in, and you'll see it spans as far east as Amagansett, as far west as New York City, and as far north as Watertown and Westchester. I'm not going to talk about all of these projects. I'd like to point out a few that bear some resemblance to what we're looking to do here. So we have many projects in Suffolk. We have 2 in Southampton and 2 in East Hampton. The first project in Southampton, transit-oriented development, mixed income, and mixed-use property in Spionk Commons, and really proud of the way it turned out. And we've leased up all of the retail there, and it's, really been a positive investment for the town and for the Spionk train station. Spionk, Sandy Hollow, which is just a little bit further, was the first affordable housing, workforce housing project that the town had ever done, and has really become the role model for future development within the town and the east end of Long Island. 2 projects in the town of East Hampton, one of them also a transit-oriented development project in Amagansett, almost adjacent to the East Hampton train station, as well as what was really a fast follower for us after the completion of Gansett Meadow. At the height of COVID, the town went ahead and expedited and improved another 50 workforce housing units in the town of East Hampton. And for me and for the company to be, in both instances, invited back for a second project is what's really meaningful. It's completing it on time, on budget, and then having a positive effect on the community. But those are some of our East End developments, but we're working on high-rise developments in Coney Island that span 20 stories and hundreds of units, which I think just continues to sort of demonstrate our breadth and our experience in housing in its entirety. Next slide. So today I was asked, why Riverhead and how are we here? And, when I thought back to it, it was really about Connie Lissandro and a friend of mine, Rob Zavatico, who really was very bullish on where Riverhead was going, and they both were right. And one particular afternoon, I was here with my 2 daughters and my wife, and we visited the aquarium. And this is when the dinosaur museum was there, and it was closed and shut down. And I think the Gammons family had owned the antique shop right on the corner. And I was sitting there and I was talking to my wife. There was a farmer's market along the river, and I had said, what do you think about, developing here? And she said, I think if you don't do it, you'll regret it. And I think the bottom line is Riverhead is a really, really cool place. And between the historic Main Street and the river and the agriculture nearby, it has everything that makes for a really great environment. And I think I can speak for the RxR team and us that we are really very, very excited to be here. Worked with Dave Gilmartin, and we put under contract shortly after. I think I called Dave immediately after I'd spoken to my wife and said, let's move forward and try to put those 2 sites under contract, which we did. And at the end of it, we've landed with Riverview Lofts, which is 116 units, about 13,000 square feet of retail. Our dedication to getting this building done right, I hope, has come through and seen that we're not just here one day and gone the next. If there's an issue at the building, we look to address it. A lot of people have my cell phone number. Things do come up, but effective property management is super important. Gene Langdon from our property management team is here and lives in the building. One of the things that we wanted to do through the process was creating that draw down to the river. And while we were designing the building, the idea was to have retail on Main Street, which was a foregone conclusion because it was part of the zoning. But driving retail down McDermott, and then ultimately where we landed, which was retail on the Peconic. And some people had thought that we were silly, that it wouldn't rent, but at the end of the day, it was that thoughtful development and that thoughtful planning that has given us the opportunity to have what I think is a very successful business along the river, the Peconic Bay County Brewing. And it's those types of things that I think we're bringing here to this particular project. And when we had looked at this particular RFP in Griffin Avenue, which Joe and Eric, our architect, is going to go through, but was to not keep that particular site as an island, but to draw people down to Main Street and to allow for the transit walkability sense. So I'm going to close with, we've turned in our financial letters, our CFO letter, our support letters. I want everyone to know that all members of the GGV team undergo ethic and integrity training, and the support letters from our bank demonstrate our ability to work with RxR and move this project forward. So I'm going to turn it back over to Joe, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. So we'll move this along a bit. I just wanted to make a mention. Joanne had mentioned a couple of sample projects of RXR. What's important to recognize is that RXR and GGV, this is not our first time together. So we talked about Garvey's, we talked about New Rochelle, we talked about Yonkers, we're talking about Riverhead. We're already partners in all those projects. So it's very important that people recognize that we already have a relationship. And when you combine our relationships and you look at what we have in operation right now, we have over 8,000 combined, over 8,000 units of apartments in operation, over 1,300 in construction, 3,400 in pre-development, 5,000 in our active pipeline, so sort of 18,000. And just to put that into perspective, we're talking about building around 240 here. So obviously, when we're talking about our capabilities, I mean, this is not something that we haven't done before. But I do want to spend a couple minutes on this, and I know Supervisor and members of the board, you've seen this slide of mine before, but it's my favorite slide in the presentations that I give. And really, I call it the recipe, right? And because it is, right? But there's no good cookbook that doesn't have a bunch of recipes that sometimes we change ingredients because we couldn't find an ingredient, or essentially somebody's got a sweeter tooth or a saltier tooth, right? But what's important here is that we recognize that none of this works, and all of the conversation that David brought up and all the conversation that Joanne brought up about our capabilities, without the community and all of the stakeholders inside the community. And we list them all here, mentioning a few: the local police, the bid, right? Design work, DPW, sewer and water, the Chamber of Commerce, the CDA. In other words, we can't bring any of these projects to fruition without the inputs from each one of these stakeholders in this. And this is what we're very, very good at. We're very good at, sometimes an overused word, public-private partnerships, but we're very good at bringing it down to the bottom and then rising it back to the top by getting everybody involved in the community to really determine what at the end of the day works best for the community. I won't spend a lot of time on these. Joanne had talked a little bit about us being master developer in New Rochelle, and I want to check all my 4 boxes tonight. Obviously, a very large-scale project that we've been working on for many years, over 3 million square feet of development rights, and we continue to have very successful relationships there with the community, with all the constituents in the community, and of course with our partner, GGV. Garvey's Point happens to be something that's close to home for me because I live in Glen Cove my entire life. Personally had over 30 years invested in this particular project. I joined RXR in 2007 and it ultimately became, I'll call it my baby, a 56-acre parcel that was deemed a Superfund site that we had to first figure out how to get the dollars to clean it up, etc., and do away with all the bad and bring in the good. And some of your staff, Supervisor, had the opportunity to come and visit Garvey's and tour Garvey's, and it's just an absolutely incredible place to see. And it really is the telling of a true public-private partnership, from how we created the financing structure, what sort of community engagement. And I say this, I learned a long time ago to face my fears up front. And, you know, we had a lot of people in this particular community, maybe not in Glen Cove, but around Glen Cove, that were not in favor of this project, okay? And you do your research, you read online, I'll be the first to tell you that there were multiple people in opposition. But one thing about us is we stay the course. If we believe in something and we believe that we have the recipe, we'll stay the course and we'll continue at it. Not that the last 18 months here, there's been opposition. In fact, just the opposite. We keep hearing from the people, we need more, and how can we do it? But it's something that our company, from a style standpoint, will continuously stay the course. The one I want to talk a little bit more about, because it really is relevant and close to what we're doing here, is the downtown revitalization of what we call Village Square in Glen Cove. And as you can see in this slide, this was demolition day. These were some old dilapidated buildings that were eyesores, sort of rodents, loitering, you name it, you know, not good, in the center of downtown Glen Cove, that we had acquired these properties and then went through a development process, much like we're going through here with the town. And when you look at the after, I mean, you can only imagine, we built 146 residential units, right? That site size is similar, 2.5 acres, similar to what we're doing here, right? We have an active plaza, right, where we have what we call Downtown Sounds, Farmers Market, the Holiday Festival, car shows. In the height of COVID, we were able to attract retail, Chase Bank, Tocolo Cantina, Tropical Smoothie, Bliss Pharmacy, Rumble Gym. And this was not an easy task in the height of COVID, right? You know, people weren't running to lease up space, but it's because we created something in a downtown that people felt safe, secure, and wanting to live, work, and play in the same region. And to the safety aspect, which is very, very important to us, not only inside of our buildings, but outside of our buildings. You'll see in my submission this evening a letter from the Chief of Police, Mr. William Witten, over in the city of Glen Cove, where we've worked with the city where they have access to all of our exterior 24-hour surveillance, okay? We partner with them. We have monthly and quarterly meetings with them where they tour with our security so we understand where might be, you know, places that people are hanging around or they shouldn't be, or so on and so forth. So again, as I said in the earlier slide, it's not just about, you know, which part of that recipe is going to make things work, but it's getting together with all the parts and pieces within inside the community to make sure we create a safe place for people to enjoy. And as you can see in these before and after pictures, and it just gives me great joy actually to look at them myself. You know, when you look at the connectivity to the downtown, this was our first or second year of Christmas. You could see the farmers market, which I envision in our plaza, in our program, activating the spaces with these exotic car shows and then art shows, and the safety and walkability, because we're putting the right lighting in, we're partnering with the local police and fire department to ensure at the end of the day, we all have the same game plan. So with that, I want to turn it over to our project here and our vision here in Riverhead, to our partner in Tortigalis, Eric, to really talk through our proposal of our building here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
No, sure.
Right.
Good evening, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
My name is Eric Alestia. I'm a partner with Tortigalis and Partners. I lead the Planning and Urban Design Studio in our Washington, D.C. office, and I'm very pleased to be here this evening. It's been a pleasure working on this effort, this project. I want to tell you a little bit about our firm. We are a firm that has sort of diverse expertise, but a couple of the areas that we have a significant amount of experience in is transit-oriented development and placemaking. When you look at some of the numbers up here on the slide, we have 20-plus transit agencies that we've worked with, including MTA and Long Island Railroad. We have worked in over 50 different cities designing transit-oriented development, and we've completed over 100 different transit-oriented development projects. Separate from TOD, just in kind of what we do, we have housed over 1 million people. We've worked in 2,300 or over 2,300 different communities. We have an emphasis in placemaking, and you see some of the built images up here. And I think you can see that one of the things that we do when we approach a building is that we don't view buildings as just a project, right, by itself. What we do is we view buildings as playing a role in defining the public realm, whether that's defining a plaza, a park space, or the streets, which should be as much for the pedestrian as it is for the car. And so I think you can see that in many of these images. The bottom middle image is in Wyandanch, New York. That's a project that we're really proud of, a project I worked on. Joanne worked with Joanne on that, where we created the master plan and the form-based code for that and did some review of architecture. And what I really love about that is it shows what kind of a transformation a place can have. If you know Wyandanch, it's a lot of parking lots, a lot of kind of trash that used to be there, and you go there today, and it just really has completely transformed what this place is about. So one of the things that we do next, focus on, is placemaking. And that's a term that's become kind of popular recently, and it sounds like kind of an esoteric term, but in reality there is a science and an art to it. What's the difference between a project that has, let's say, retail, residential, office, and another project that has those same things, but one of them that's not nice, right? It's a place that's really dominated by parking lots, and a place that's much more walkable. The difference is in really knowing how to bring those elements together. So what we do is we focus on the public realm, public spaces, but when we talk about public realm, we also talk about what's the culture and the history of a place. What are the uses you're bringing there that's going to help to activate the place? What's the architecture? How does it relate to the history of a place? How does it really create a pedestrian scale? We look at the programming, like what are the activities that are going to take place in those spaces? And then, of course, at the very center are people and the community. And so when we bring those 5 things together, we know how to bring them together to really leverage one against the other and create a great place. Next. So that's one of the things that we did here. When we came here, we had to sort of really understand the community. You know your community better than we do, but we had to kind of get our head into this and understand what is the place about. So we looked at what's the downtown master plan, what's the redevelopment plan, what does the pattern book say, what are the principles that we gather from that. And then we started to take a look at the TOD site, which is labeled as TOD site here. You can see that that's one block, but oftentimes what we do is we say, well, let's understand how this fits into a bigger picture. How does it fit into the picture today? But more importantly, how does it fit into a picture tomorrow in a place that's transformed and that's different from today? I'll highlight just a few things on here. So in the TOD site, one of the things that you have, we understood, is that you're really looking to strengthen connectivity to Main Street. And so what we did is we said, well, if we go over to the east side, over to Griffin Avenue, right now, it's not a pleasant place. You've got a lot of parking lots with cars parked there. You have the courts buildings, which are very nice classical buildings, but it's, has a lot of power lines, isn't a whole lot of shade. And so one of the things that we said was, let's strengthen that idea. Let's make it a pleasant place to be. So when we started thinking about where do we put that transit parking, there's the county parking lot on the east side along Griffin Avenue, over by the railroad. And we said, well, what if we put the parking there, but what if we actually made it, who wants to have a parking lot as part of their streetscape? I don't think many people do. We said, well, what if you could line that parking garage with uses to activate that street, to make it feel like a pedestrian-friendly place that you'd like to walk to? And we'll show an image shortly that shows what that could be like. We looked at the existing spaces. You happen to have at the courts building a plaza, a park space. The first time I walked by there, I didn't even realize it was a park space because it's just all concrete, right? But if that were improved, it could really be a kind of a place where people would actually want to be. We looked at the train station itself, currently a vacant building, but a very nice building, shingle style. When I went and sort of took a walk around the neighborhood and looked at the different styles, there's actually a rich architectural history here that you see in the homes, in the shingle style, the colonial styles, a lot of clapboard buildings. And so we sort of started to take a look at it and say, how can we relate to that? Then we looked at some of the key things of how do you connect on the west side? What are you going to see when you come to this TOD site? You're going to see this particular corner. You're going to see the corner on the north side for people coming from the south, coming from the north heading south. And so we took a look at all of these things to sort of establish a framework and establish, next, what these 2 particular blocks or portions of a block would be. So on the left side, you see the TOD block. It's a building that has active ground floor uses. It has a courtyard in the center of the building. It has parking on the first floor and what we call a podium. And a couple of the big things that this does is it says, let's take that space between the historic older train station and this building, and let's create a plaza. Let's make it a place that people want to be, that has retail in it, so that it isn't really dominated today by what you see, which is a lot of asphalt, a lot of road, a lot of width to that road. So that's what we looked at there in general. And then we looked over to the east side where the garage is, where the proposed garage is, and we said, what if we had a liner to that to help create that place? So that at the end of Quartz Drive, you look down at the end and you actually see a building, right? Rather than a parking lot and rather than a garage. So let's flip to next. So this is that view. One of the things that we realized here is that while you may not think, you think of Main Street as being the front door, but for people who are coming on the train, this is what they see. This is the front door. This is the image that people have of what Riverhead is about. So we wanted to recognize that and really create a welcoming front door. So you have the Riverhead train station on the right in this image. We're proposing that would have bigger windows so that it could be more welcoming and occupies a retail use, preferably some kind of a cafe. And then on the left side, we also have a shingle style on the building that faces this public plaza, which becomes an opportunity to have public art and a flexible space where you can have activities there as well. Next. So just to talk about this building a little bit more, on the top left side, you have the ground floor. So you can see that there's parking in the middle. But what you see is yellow and blue all around the perimeter of the block. So you don't actually ever see the parking from the street, from any of the sides. The blue to the right has flex retail space, and the yellow on the left, the top and the bottom, is ground floor activating uses like amenity space for the residential building. The image on the right side are the upper floors, so second floor and up to 4 or up to 5. And those are just a variety of different residential units. The units face out from the block in all directions, and then also there are units which face into the courtyard. So the bottom image is a section of what that looks like. And we have over there, we have Osborne on the left, and we have Cedar on the right. And so there are a couple of things that you see here. The parking in the middle, lined with active uses at the ground floor, the residential above, and then you see that on the right side, it's 5 stories, and on the left side, it's 4 stories. So when we looked at the pattern book, one of the things that we're looking to try to do that follows those principles is be sensitive to the character of the surrounding area. So higher, taller buildings close to the metro, and as you sort of step down away, it gets lower. Next. So now we're going to look at the actual elevations of the buildings. So again, we went and we looked at the historical character of the buildings that exist today, and we, in essence, incorporated those characters, that style, into these facades. But one of the important things that we did here, consistent with the pattern book, is if you have a longer facade, it needs to, rather than looking like one big long project, it should be broken down to look like multiple buildings that are also much more pedestrian scale. So that provides greater variety, and it provides a sort of comfort level for the pedestrian. So you have here on the right, on the top image, right where you are at the plaza. So you have the shingle style, and then on the left, you have more of a coastal colonial kind of style there. And then on the bottom image, you're kind of turning the corner, and we're looking at Quartz Avenue, and you can see where the garage entry is. So where the garage entry is, again, there are units up above that entry, so it really downplays the parking and the garage there. So then you continue to the left, and you see this at the top right image. There's a corner tower element, so that marks an important corner. And then as you proceed to the left at the top, the building steps down lower as you move to the residential neighborhoods to the north. And as you can see, all sides of the block are treated with attention to detail. Next. So now we'll look at the garage site. So here on this first image on the right, you see the garage itself. So the garage itself is 332 spaces. It's 3 levels or 4 stories tall. Where you see in the green is where there's a development site. Next. So here you have the garage, and in the orange, you have residential units. So we're proposing 36 workforce apartments that will line that garage and hide that garage. The other thing that it does, I think both of these projects do, is they bring residential units to this area. That's something that's really important in creating a level of activity. It provides people there to support the uses. The other thing that it does is actually makes a place safer. Because there are people that are living there are people to monitor what's going on all the time, not just during business hours. And then we have about 4,000 square feet of flex space, commercial space down on the ground floor to help activate that space. Next. So this is one of the important streets. We're looking at Griffin Avenue. We're standing on the right side. The street that goes off to the right is Courts, and we're looking down towards Main Street. So this is what it looks like today. So, you know, if somebody said, hey, let's take a walk down here, I'd probably say, I'd rather hop in my car, right? But we look at this and we say, well, what could you do? And we're going to layer this on the next image. Well, if you were to improve the pedestrian crosswalks, if you were to improve the streetscape with street trees, that would be a very different experience. But it's still a parking lot over to the left, right? So then we go to the next image, and this shows what those improvements with the streetscape and with this 4-story building with the commercial on the bottom story could be. And suddenly this is transformed into a completely different place. And if somebody said, hey, let's take a walk down this street, I would say, yeah, I'd love to take a walk down this street. So that's really what we're looking to do over on the garage site. Next. So this is a view, again, of that garage site, except now we're standing on the south over at the Courts building, and we're looking up to the north. And you can see, again, that architecture that's broken down and reflects the character of the history of Riverhead. Next. This is another important view. This is what it looks like if we're standing on Railroad Avenue. We're looking over to the west. You see the historic train station, which is vacant on the right, and you see a parking lot on the left. And if we flip to the next image, this is a similar vantage point, and this is what we're envisioning there, which is an activated train station, plaza, and a new residential building with commercial on the ground floor. And I think this is really a tremendous opportunity to transform what this is and really achieve the goals of Riverhead. Now Joe's going to continue.
Sure. And I will, again, thank you, Eric, for all that, and, you know, very important information, obviously, getting a better understanding. I know we've, the supervisor and board, we've presented some of this, obviously, before to you all, and wanted to make sure that we got it all into the public record this evening. I'll be able to move very quickly through the remainder of this so we can get to Q&A. But again, I mentioned it earlier, and Dawn mentioned it earlier. For me, I want to remind us of the journey, right? And it's important for the residents of this community to understand the journey, not when you all started thinking about this 20 years ago, at least when you attracted companies like ours and David's to come to your community and engage in a process like this back in March of 2021. So I'd gone through this process where ultimately you had selected us or awarded us the position of the master developer, and we're here this evening to check our 4 boxes of being qualified, eligible, etc., to be able to be your partner in this and to move forward. And I hope that during our presentation, we've continued to work through answering those questions and obviously meeting those criteria. So when we look forward, though, which is what I like to look forward to, is, you know, what's tomorrow? So we're here at the hearing this evening. From here, we'll go to a resolution. I'm assuming once the board has time to consider all this and listen to the public, from there we'll go to the local IDA. And really, it's only around the corner, 2023. You know, sometime in mid of 2023, we'll start going through, you know, the process of our site plan applications and really getting down to the meat and potatoes of actually breaking ground, which we intend to do by the end, in our current schedule, by the end of 2023 on both of the properties. And we've been working with your staff in identifying alternate parking means, et cetera, so we know we have that figured out so we can go vertical at the same time at the end of the day. And then looking forward to 24 through 26, you know, we'll be completing these projects, obviously. People will be moving into them, we'll be activating the space, And that'll happen over time, right? So some things will come before others. Many times when we build properties like this, portions of the building open before other portions of the building. The garage may lag, the TOD may lag, and it all depends on, you know, sort of the schedule of construction and funding, et cetera. But we foresee that, and we're here this evening to really tell you that that is our vision, what Eric laid out. We believe that the companies collectively have the necessary capabilities to do this. We have proven capabilities, as you've seen, just in some of the examples that we set out. But just to talk about the overall financials for this particular project, we've talked already about the size of both the TOD site and 246 Griffin Avenue. Just to give the public and the board and the supervisor a sense, the project is approximately a $135 million project. And what you'll see in our sources and uses, and we'll go from left to right, we would anticipate a construction loan of somewhere around $70 million, which we've handed you more than enough evidence this evening that we're capable of doing that. We would have equity or a developer contribution of just under $40 million. You'll see that very clearly stated in our letter from the CFO of both of our companies, our capability to come forward with that and have that available. The uses from that, obviously, we have in our proposal and what's been adopted. We have a payment based on certain parameters that we can make to the town of roughly $7 million, and then obviously we have hard cost and other. And when you look at the other side, the 246 Griffin, both the garage and the liner units, we know we're bringing $7 million to the party for the TOD site, so that's the first start of that. I know that, I'm sure the supervisor and this board is aware, and I think I saw it on your agenda, that there's the process of taking that property from the county well beyond already, almost at the point where the county is ready to do that with you at, from what I understand, a very little to no cost at the end of the day, so not a cost of the property. Dawn had mentioned the DRI grant of $2.8 million that we've applied for, and then there's about $13 million that needs to come from developer, tax credits, grants. One of the things that I want to point out that may not have resonated, and it's important that I go back to it, is that when we looked at this project and we talked about where do you park the cars, and we came up with this Griffin Avenue strategy, as we've evolved through this process over the 18 months, the Griffin Avenue project really turned from a parking garage with maybe some flex space to a parking garage with flex space and 36 workforce units. And what's important about that is, if you think about it, we've got to understand the need for affordable housing, okay? And we have a 240 roughly TOD project, multi-use project units there. Now we're bringing over 10%, those 12% of that fraction into that garage. But what it does is it opens up a whole nother avenue of federal, state, and other monies that become available to be able to help offset the cost of the garage, and at the same time, as Eric rightfully pointed out, create a facade at the end of the day that doesn't look like a parking garage and livability. So that's the way we see that, and we have evidence in what we dropped off at your desk this evening relative to our financial capability. I won't spend a lot of time on the next slide because you have it in your possession, but very quickly you have letters of recommendation from the City of Glen Cove, CDA, IDA, Glen Cove Police Department, Nassau County Legislator, City of New Rochelle, City of Yonkers, East Hampton Housing Authority, North Hempstead Housing Authority, and East End Disability Association, as well as from both companies, lender commitments from M&T Bank, Bank of America, TD Bank, JP Morgan, Raymond James, and then our letters from our CFOs of each of our companies related to our ability to fund the equity required in what I had laid out earlier. So in summary, we feel that this project will bring the long-term economic benefits to this community. We feel that the diverse TOD mixed-use development, pedestrian community connectivity, right? Bringing a place of interest and improving the overall quality of life, job creation is something that's not talked about enough in these presentations. We see over 600 construction jobs being created, and I know members from the construction community are in the audience tonight, so they'll be happy to hear about that. And then ultimately, while this is a swag of 35 permanent jobs, it could be 50 permanent jobs. It really depends on what we attract in the flex space, you know, whether there's a restaurant or an ice cream shop or whatever the case may be. So I would say easily you could look at 30 to 50 permanent jobs bringing in ultimately for this, which I think is important to understanding that. And again, I would say this to this board and you supervisor, that RXR and GGV are not just here this evening, and we haven't invested quite a bit already of both time, energy, and dollars to get through this process of 18 months, to get in front of you this evening and in front of your residents, because we just see this as one project. We continue to look at other development opportunities, connectivity to the riverfront, and how we can work together overall on this project going forward. We will conclude with the short video. Unfortunately, I think this board has seen it before, but I just love it, so I want to conclude with it. And I call this Let's Bring Outside In, because unfortunately we get in these boardrooms and we're not remembering what outside looks like. So we have a short piece. It's only 3 minutes that we put together, and then supervisor and board, we will turn it over and be available to you, of course, and any of your residents for questions. Thank you.
At Riverhead, I think what makes me excited about this project is the opportunity to help a community implement their vision. I think that town planning and urban design really is about creating the setting, the stage for all of life to occur. And so the idea that you can come in and help to create a catalyst project and create something that makes a better place for the community. We're rolling audio? This is where it's all going to begin, right here. You know, about 2 years ago, we finished Riverview Rafts, 116 units on the corner of McDermott and East Main Street. And we wanted to continue our investment in Riverhead and everything that it has to offer. This here finishes it, basically completing the chapters of the book that Riverhead has.
I was one of the first residents. I moved on November 14th.
It's just a beautiful building. The view that you have in these apartments, you get to see the riverfront. It's just amazing.
It's just all here, and it's all available to me, a resident. I love the fact that I can just like walk out of the building and be on the main street and walk to the pizzeria and not have to get in the car to get a gallon of milk. I like that it's developing and more like restaurants are opening.
I do like beer, which is the guy who owns a brewery, yes. I chose Riverhead as the location for my brewery because I really saw a ton of potential in this town. I grew up out east of here, and I always kind of wondered why Riverhead hadn't really gotten to its full potential. So I was hoping that the Potomac County Brewing could be a part of the Riverhead growth that I saw coming.
I've been in the area since 1997, so I'm dating myself. Everything that's done in Riverhead is just like one step closer to being perfect. I know nothing's perfect, but you know, I think they're on their way.
The fact that you have the courts building there and bringing employment to the area is really important.
There wasn't that long ago, the building I'm in was the new thing at Riverhead, and now with all the new locations coming, people know there's kind of a buzz, so they want to check it out before it happens.
This is also a front door to people that are coming on the rail line.
For the residents, the future residents living here, the people visiting here, from Greenport to Southold, and being able to access the train and the jobs and everything that the East End has to offer.
Today, the front door is a parking lot. I think this project will give you a front door that tells you, hey, there's something here at Riverhead.
So right behind me is the site, and as you can imagine, it's a blank slate. It's going to be a representation of what historic Riverhead is, but also an urban environment, 5-story building, 243 units.
One of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing is the implementation of the public space.
My dream for the town square would be a tunnel from here to there so everybody can get a beer.
Right behind us here, we've got what's going to be our future cafe, which is going to then open up into our plaza. Behind that's going to be our 5-story building, but what you're going to be thinking about is future farmers markets and future arts, and we're going to incorporate something special into this plaza that really memorializes what Riverhead has to offer.
This project has the opportunity to really be the catalyst
that sparks a redevelopment in this area.
I think this is going to be a destination for a lot of people.
I've been really happy here. I love the diversity, and my son has enjoyed it as well.
I met my significant other here in Riverhead.
You're Riverhead. You're responsible for my relationship.
To work with RXR and Georgica, the town of Riverhead and Suffolk County, I think it's going to make for a great future development.
I don't know what to say. Hold on. I don't know. I actually like everything here.
We'll go over to the courts? Yeah, I got this. I'm going to keep hanging on to this.
Oh, you want it?
Yeah, I do.
I couldn't believe it. I saw a shark. The first time in my life I ever saw a shark was at the aquarium.
Again, Madam Supervisor, Town Board, thank you very much for the opportunity. Probably ran a little longer than maybe we had anticipated, but it's very important information that we were able to bring to you this evening, and we stand available to obviously answer any questions that yourselves, the board, CDA, or members of this community may have for us.
All right, you don't have to apologize for running over. There is no time constraint when you have a public hearing. So we're here until everybody's questions are answered. And it's great to see this. We are looking at Riverhead's most blighted area. And it's quite touching to see that two well-known developers, people who have a great reputation, who have the experience to develop TODs, who's already developed here, have interest in us. And if I turn around, I see our councilwoman, Jody Giglio, is here with us today. Assemblywoman, former councilwoman, she's here with us. Assemblywoman, thank you for coming by. She lives in Riverhead, and I'm sure she's interested in what's going on today. And we're going to open it up to the public for comments, and then Chip, we said we had a few people online, but nobody raised their hands, did they? We have one person. Anybody sitting in the audience who want to come forward for a comment? Yes, ma'am. Can you state your name and where you're from?
Sure, yeah. My name is Quentin Nigro. I live on Brook Street, literally right around the corner. I'm addressing you all today as a lifelong Riverhead resident. I represent both Sheet Metal Local 28 and the Nassau-Suffolk Building Trades. However, I'm also a student about to finish my degree, and I want to return to my hometown of Riverhead to have a good paying job. Project labor agreements, which have been used for generations, are collective bargaining agreements between building trade unions and contractors. They govern terms and conditions of employment for all craft workers, union and non-union, on a construction project. They protect taxpayers by eliminating costly delays due to labor conflicts or shortages of skilled workers. Municipalities and government agencies sign project labor agreements with labor organizations and contractors for work on large, long-term construction projects. Federal legislation allows the use of the project labor agreement to establish employment terms and conditions for construction projects. The Project Labor Agreement, or PLA, is designed to address several problems common to long-term construction contracts while providing specific benefits to local communities, taxpayers, workers, and businesses. PLAs, also called Project Stabilization Agreements, can greatly increase the stability and efficiency of long-term construction projects. Such projects usually have multiple employers and present special challenges in planning for costs and bidding on contracts. The PLA addresses labor issues, establishes cost standards, and helps projects stay on schedule by preventing costly shutdowns. The agreements allow the projects to draw on a steady supply of workers who accept the conditions of the pre-hire agreement. The PLA prevents labor disputes, provides binding resolutions for resolving issues, and provides coordination among those involved in the project. PLAs allow both unionized and non-union companies to bid on projects. The PLA provides the same agreement for all workers and prohibits discrimination by union organizations against non-union job applicants. The PLA allows non-union workers to choose not to become full union members. Non-union workers also may pay reduced union dues or may opt out to pay no union dues, depending on the state in which the construction project occurs. Project labor agreements often establish goals or requirements for the inclusion of small businesses, minority contractors, and businesses that meet disability requirements. Communities may include local workforce development goals in the PLA to encourage the hiring of targeted segments of the population, such as veterans and minorities. A PLA may include goals or requirements for small businesses, participation in construction projects, etc. Project labor agreements include provisions that require companies to comply with federal and state laws governing workplace safety and health and equal opportunity laws. The Federal Middle Class Task Force promotes the use of PLAs as a tool for helping workers and their families enter the middle class, especially those who are unemployed or underemployed. A PLA can include provisions for training, including the creation of apprenticeship programs and increased career opportunities for workers from low-income communities. Advanced training and experiences can result in higher wages. The PLA provides the structure for collaboration with local workforce entities and for enforcing and monitoring the outcome of training provisions in the agreements. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come forward? Hello.
How you doing? My name is Joe Montalbano. I'm a resident of Riverhead. Live at 113 Old Orchard Road, Wading River. So I'm representing the men and women of General Building Laborers Local 66. I am the president. I'm here to ask you to consider a project labor agreement for this project. It's not something that hasn't been done before. We went to the Nassau County Legislature a couple of years ago, and we asked if the legislature could consider a PLA for the Nassau hub. They actually did, and they did it unanimously. So, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Montalbano.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chip, do we have anyone?
We have some.
Yep, we're gonna grab somebody from the net first, if you don't mind. Okay, thanks. Okay. Who is it?
Mike Foley.
Okay.
Mike, where are you, Mike? Hey, Dave, you caught the train. You were lucky in that video. Mike.
Okay, while you try to get him up, there he is.
Good evening, Mike Foley in Reeves Park. I want to start off by complimenting the presenters. I think you guys all did a great job. It really filled in an awful lot of questions that I had about this project. Joe, I think you're the main guy. I think you're a rock star. So let me just start off by asking a few questions. I know you said you would take Q&A, and I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. We're talking about the parking capacity in the town before this project starts, and I know you're anticipating 243 market rate apartments, 35 workforce apartments, and about 160 initial parking spots, not counting the parking garage that is part of this project. Understanding that there's an awful lot of variables here, Joe, and I do understand that, what do you think the lag time will be from the completion of the parking garage to those apartments being opened and completed?
Mr. Foley, can he hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great.
Fine, Joe, please call me Mike. Thank you.
Okay, Mike. Right, so I don't have probably the answer the direct answer relative to the timeline or the time gap between the parking structure being completed and the TOD being completed. But what I can tell you is that we have been working with the town on a couple of alternate parking areas, one in particular that is obviously the town is looking to acquire a space that's going to be potentially the home of a new town hall. There is a lot of additional parking there. We've identified 3 other locations in which we can fulfill the current parking requirements, and further, within our MDA and our agreement with the town, we have also agreed to provide during peak hours a shuttle service if required, if parking is a little bit further away. In a perfect world, Mike, we'd be coming out of the ground at the same time and completing at the same time, so there'd be the least amount of interruption. But we think we have a great game plan with the town for alternate parking to be able to facilitate the parking during that time.
Great, Joe. And in the breakdown of the 243 market rate apartments, how many 2-bedrooms, how many 1-bedrooms, how many studios?
I'm going to look to my team to see if we have that handy.
Thank you.
It's a quarter.
You want to come up to the mic,
Yeah.
please?
Please, Tom. I'm going to introduce Tom Kelly, our project exec, who
Okay.
would have this answer, wouldn't he?
It's on the list.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Mike, to your question on the number of units, 243, it's broken up, 1/4 studio.
Sir, if you can speak into the mic, they can hear you.
1/4 of them would be studio, half of them would be 1 bedroom, and 1/4 would be 2 bedrooms.
Okay, so we're talking 61 two-bedroom apartments, Tom. And I just, this is kind of being thrown out for everybody here because I think we know that our schools are kind of maxed out. I know there has been a lot of issues involving school children that might not necessarily be residents. So I mean, clearly our school capacity is being tested before this project is completed. And I can only assume that if there are 61 two-bedroom apartments, cut it to 1.5, there's going to be 90 more school-age children coming into our district. Has that been factored into the planning? And I just throw that out, not to you, Joe, but really to the town board, just to see. And I have a few more questions for you, but that's my concern here, Yvette, that we are building, as you know, hundreds of units, not just this very large project that, looks very impressive to me, and I support it. But my concerns are how we deal with the growing pains, not only in the school system, but in security and parking. And Joe, I'm going to follow up with parking. Just if anybody on the town board had any conversations about dealing with the additional school children before I ask another question. Has there been any contemplation of that? Yvette or Tim or Frank?
Well, let's rely on the researchers, right? You've done a study, right?
Well,
From what
yeah,
I understand. You have to
yes,
do-
but we still have to go through a seeker study that
Exactly.
will obviously vet that all out. I wouldn't want to debate with Mr. Foley, excuse me, Mike, the number of 2 bedrooms versus school-age students. But what I would say, Mike, is that post this adoption, for lack of better words, of our conclusion of this MDA agreement, we have to go down a process that's, a year's long worth of study work before we dig a hole. And all of that is going to come out in that, going through a seeker process, which is typical.
Very good, very, very good, Joe. Tom, just one other question on the workforce apartments. There are 36 of those. Is it kind of the same thing? A quarter studio, a quarter 2-bedroom, and half 1-bedroom? Is it kind of the same breakdown there, Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to answer for Tom that it is approximately the same breakdown, which is 25% studio, 50% 1-bed, and then 25% 2-bed.
Thank you, Joe. I want to talk real briefly about security. The pattern book was brought up many times, Joe, in this presentation, and I think rightfully so, because I think the people that want the best for this town want everything to fit together, to become one beautiful town that is safe and secure and prosperous. The pattern book, I was involved in every meeting in the pattern book, and certainly the perception of the town was a lack of security on Main Street. And I think that was overdone a bit, but the perception remains. And when, you deal with perception versus reality, I think it's real important that we do everything we can to clean up the perception. And I was happy to hear, Joe, that you kind of work hand in glove with the local municipal police departments. That's very good to hear. My question is, obviously, you guys are going to have 24-hour monitoring, or at least 24-hour cameras that cover the entire footprint of your community, and I'm assuming there will be some record of street or sidewalk activity. And assuming that that's right, is there any contemplation of your company getting involved in monitoring the street distance between your project and Main Street?
I don't think we're at a point in this process that we can actually answer that correctly. What I could say to you, Mike, is that based on my experience of what we typically do to the perimeter of our buildings, our cameras and security systems usually stretch well beyond the center line of the streets and then some. And I've had multiple occasions, frankly, where local PD has come to, 10 different sites of ours asking for video footage, et cetera. And it's typical that, we obviously have it saved, but more importantly, that it stretches out beyond our boundaries of our property line. But it is something that, we look at as we design those systems around our building.
Well, that's great to hear, Joe. And, one of the things that, again, came up in the pattern book was street security. And we have had many conversations about how to make the area from parking lot to town square, all of downtown, secure with cameras. And, Joe, you might be aware that Riverhead was one of the 4 towns with the foresight to allow retail marijuana. And that 3% tax benefit that we will get is going to determine, in my mind, the future of the town as far as security is concerned and schools. We want our schools to be palaces. It's not only good for the school, it's good for resident values and everything else. And I think we really need, as a town, in working with you guys, because you guys are clearly going to be a major player in this town for years to come, to make the perception of safety in Riverhead paramount to the future and the success of our town. So I just want to keep that in mind for everybody, including the town board here, that safety is going to determine the future of our town, not just the development, but if we don't want to end up with a ghost town, we got to protect what we have, secure what we have, and keep it as safe as possible. Joe, again, thank you very much for answering my questions, and Yvette and town board, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity here. I found this very informative, and I hope future public hearings are as informative with as professional a crew as the guys in Georgica and RXR. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come forward? You go ahead.
Yes, me.
Good evening, how you doing?
Good evening, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Kim Squatzine.
Okay.
I'm a resident of Speonk Commons. It's one of Georgica's housing communities. I moved in about 3 years ago when the community was brand new. I came to speak tonight in support of the Georgica team. Speonk Commons is a great community, and that is because of the Georgica team. My apartment is beautiful, everything from the floor to the fixtures. I could tell from the first time I saw it that they took great care in the look and the flow of not only my apartment, but the community as well. The grounds are beautiful and very well maintained. Again, they took the time to have it beautifully landscaped in a way that complements the area. Even our snow removal is spot on, so maintenance is great. I haven't had that many issues with maintenance in the past 3 years since I've lived there, but every time I've had to call, my concerns were handled almost immediately. The staff is very friendly and extremely competent. They really go out of their way to make sure their residents are happy. Last year, we were given a survey on how to improve our community, and our requests were not only heard, but some changes were implemented as well. Georgica has just provided us with picnic tables that we requested, and the community uses them all the time. They've been a fantastic addition. So it's nice to be here. So thank you, Georgica, for that. We also have a fitness center and a community room. Some of the residents, including myself, had a Christmas party in there this past Christmas, and it was nice to have that camaraderie. You know, there's family, of course, but it's nice to have something extra in the community, and the community center gives us the opportunity to do that, so that was fantastic. We also have a few retail places that are part of our community that really enhance the community involved surrounding it, including a great little coffee shop that I personally visit there every weekend. I know the owner now on a first name basis because it's fabulous and I love it and I'm there all the time. The proximity to the train station of where I live is also really, really helpful, especially I have a son who goes to college in New York City, so that's fantastic. He gets to come home probably a lot more than he would like, but I absolutely love it because I'm like, take the train, it's so easy, so that's fantastic. But the way they also take into account the location that their communities are a part of, they really, really fit into the surrounding area. Their attention to the detail and the way they really care about their community and the residents is what really sets them apart from other developers, in my opinion. So That's it. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to make a quick comment, both on hers and the prior speakers. I think the key to the success of this is the access to the LIRR and what it will offer to this redevelopment and what it will bring to the town, not just in the Railroad Avenue area, but also in the new town square and bridged by the new town hall. I think we have a really great opportunity here, and these guys have made it pretty clear that they're going to do a great job, and I know that the town square is going to be great. But to go back to Mike Foley's comment about security and making sure people are safe, we're keenly aware of this, and this is one of our paramount concerns going forward, is that we're going to invite all of this development and all of this, tourism and all of this retail, and we have to make sure that everybody who is coming is going to be safe. And I think these are great points that are being brought up here in the public hearing.
Right, and I also would like to add that, yes, public safety is critical and important to everyone. We're fully aware. We are working behind the scenes. We are changing strategies. We are enhancing our police department, our,
But great points by both speakers so far, yep.
the TOD area is also going to have a police substation. And we're working on our downtown, possibly having a booth down there. So things are going to happen very quickly. And so myself and the police chief, we've been working, we've been looking at the stats. We are enhancing our police department in 2022. First time since, I believe, 2018 was the last time any officers were hired. But we also had to strategize. You're going to hire 50 officers, and if you don't put them in the right place, they're going to be useless, right? So you have to have a strategy. So it's going to all work together, and so I'm glad that you brought that point up.
Yeah, great comments by the prior two speakers.
Great.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we go to, want to come forward? No one online, Chip? Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Grant Newberger on behalf of the NASA Suffolk Building Trades. We represent 36 different unions in construction on Long Island. And on behalf of our 65,000 members, I just want to advocate for a project labor agreement. You heard from my colleague before the economic benefits of a project labor agreement. It will guarantee you that 100% of the construction workers on the site are local from Long Island, and it will maximize your local economic benefit when you guarantee all of your wages will be spent locally. Furthermore, the building trades, we represent a pathway to the middle class that does not require a college degree, and I think that's very important to emphasize because, when you take a job with the trades, it's not a job, it's a career, and we really feel that way, and we really feel strongly about it. And I'd just like to emphasize, we are the community on Long Island, all of us live here, we work here, we play here, and very much, we love hanging out in Riverhead, and we just want to make sure that as we build this project, as much economic benefit as possible stays local. Thank you.
Thank you. Chip? No one? Anyone from the floor? Good evening.
Good evening, Supervisor Aguirre and Town Councilman. My name's Ashley Pope. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Guercio and Guercio. We represent the...
Excuse me, Ashley, can you just move
Sure,
closer to the
I'm
mic?
a little tall, sorry.
Thank you.
It's okay.
So we serve as general counsel to the Riverhead Central School District. I noted that the recipe for placemaking slide didn't include the school district as one of the partners in this, or the community organizations to have a seat at the table. While the district encourages and embraces the development of properties within district limits, the district is, like Mr. Foley, concerned as to the impact that the proposed redevelopment may have on the school district. We trust that as part of any review of whether the sponsor is qualified and eligible, the town will take a hard look at the developer's ability and commitment to work with the school district to accurately and comprehensively assess and mitigate the impact of this project to the school district, including on issues such as enrollment, space and capacity issues, transportation, and financial impact, including the increased cost of educating additional students and loss of revenue. This redevelopment is in the Roanoke Elementary School attendance zone, and this school is already at capacity. 270 additional apartments could bring a significant influx of additional students, depending on the breakdown of the apartments. Further, this is not the only redevelopment project contemplated for this area, expected to bring in a significant increase in residential density. While the district is committed to providing a high-quality education to all students residing in the district, its ability to do so hinges on adequate funding through, for example, property taxes. We note that it appears the developer intends to make an application to the Town of Riverhead Industrial Development Agency for benefits such as a payment in lieu of taxes agreement. As you know, this would effectively keep the property tax exempt while increasing the district's obligations that depend on support from property taxes. We urge the town to take a hard look at the district's concern and consider, as part of this qualified and eligible review, the developer's commitment to adequately assessing and mitigating the impact of this proposed development on the district, financial and otherwise. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yes.
For one, I'd like to get your card. For two,
Sure.
and I understand your concerns, but do you address these issues in the secret plan that is currently proposed in Southampton, where they're looking to build 2,200 units in the Riverhead School District in Riverside and Flanders?
I'm sorry, so I haven't seen a proposed secret plan for this particular
Okay, I would-
project yet.
Yeah, I would look at that, and, you know, we represent Riverhead, and this is just the way, the reality is, having Flanders and Riverside in our school district makes the school go like this. And I don't want to see that prevent us from giving our residents what they need. So I would ask that maybe you guys need to speak to Albany and get Southampton to build some schools.
I know we're here tonight about this particular project, this particular sponsor. We, just urge the town to have the sponsor commit to addressing the impact on the school district for this project. Financial, enrollment, et cetera.
If I can get your card, I'd like to
Absolutely.
continue the conversation.
Absolutely, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Chip? No one? Anyone up? Okay, does the board want to make a comment? No?
I think I had one.
Good evening, Supervisor.
Good evening. Go ahead.
My name is Matthew Arasich. I am the president of the Building and Construction Trades Council for Nassau and Suffolk Counties. Thank you for the ability to give my comments, and also to the members of the board as well. You heard here a very nice presentation about what we're going to see in the future, and I will tell you that that's only a snippet of what's coming this direction. I say that because it's important to recognize that the development that's coming this direction is funded by both federal government and by state government as well. I say that because if you look at the opportunities that are in store for Long Island, it is different than anywhere else in this state. There's a lot of reasons for that. The offshore wind, which also started only at a $4 billion look 4 years ago. By the middle of the year, it actually transformed to $6 billion, and by the end of the year, it transformed to 10. Today, that number is at $70 billion for New York State, and if you look at the rest of the Eastern Seaboard, it's almost $220 billion. What we're looking for is those jobs to come here, which is the supply chain, which is the new jobs in engineering, and where are they going to live? They can live in places like this, because not having enough places to live is a catastrophe to make growth. And one of the things that was said is that you'll have an opportunity to live, work, and play here, but you also have the ability to stay here. The reason is when we create a new economic development using these two partners to build this, this is the stimulus for economic development. We say that with a different mindset, because as we see this, aside from that, you're looking at the new projects which are coming in, which is the Revelistic Ion Collider, which is in Brookhaven. Where are the scientists going to go? If you're looking at Midway Crossing, and you're looking at new transit-oriented development, as well as the train, plane, and automobile to a convention center, where are the people going to live as well? We need to create more of this for Riverhead. And the idea is that we could do that competitively, and we could do it in sensible space. I say that because when we're talking about jobs,
We don't talk jobs in the building trades. We talk about careers. I say that because if you're going to put people on this job, just 19 people, if they make $75 an hour, and if they work 40 hours a week and 48 weeks a year, do you know how much money that is? That's $2,736,000. However, if you never give them a raise over 30 years, they make exactly the same salary. That's $80,080,000 in economic activity. That's what we bring for 19 people. There are 65,000 people in my council. Now you can understand how this all works. And some people say that we're too expensive to put on these jobs. I could tell you the opposite, which means that you can't afford not to use us. Even just the HICRA law. If we go to schools with hospitals, and we actually visit them with an illness, the health plans that we have pay 8% premium for people that do not have health care, or that those don't have sufficient health care. You heard before about the apprentice programs. The idea is this. When you're looking at people that go to school, they have debt at the end. What I could tell you is, when you graduate from the programs, you have no debt. And here's the bigger thing. It gets you 4 years of pension, 4 years of health care, and when you graduate, you're actually one of a team, which actually, you are one of a group that, you're going to like this one. We train more people in the building trades and graduate them than all private colleges combined. That is the purpose of what we do here. I'm a third generation in this industry. We have partnered with RXR already, and we believe that this is the right avenue to do this, and we are for the project. So thank you for your consideration. Thank you for your partnership and yours as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've said for years that the apprenticeship is a tremendous program. We've had many kids from Riverhead graduate high school. College isn't for everybody. And you know what? Some people work with their hands better than with their minds and a book in front of them. Perfect example, I know some of the union leaders here know of who I speak of from some of the individuals that have gone on. One in particular worked on the Barclays building when it was being built in the city. Great stories we hear from that. So projects like this are so well suited for the apprenticeship to work and to get young people, give them careers, give them salaries that they can afford to live on Long Island. That's not easy to do today. That's why so many of our young are fleeing. But also to have apartments that they can be able to afford and stay here, and maybe move out of mom and dad's basement and have a life of their own. They may not get the house with the white picket fence right away, but this is a stepping stone towards that. This project in itself, the TOD, I am so excited about. That area has been blighted for years, and I talk to many people around town, and I hear comments such as, what are you doing to this town, to, oh my God, I can't wait. And to the people that say, oh my God, what are you doing to this town, I say that in 1965, when I was 5 years old, and I was having a hamburger at Woolworth's at the counter at the soda shop with my dad, Riverhead was a beautiful place. It still is today. But it was beautiful then with 15,000 people. It's beautiful today with 33, 34,000 people. Times have changed. We all love those quaint memories that we have, but we have to move with the times also. And I've talked about many times about seeing the whole picture. And one apartment building pops up downtown Riverhead and people are like, oh my God, we're turning into the city. No, we're not. If you look at the picture, the big picture of what this town's potential can be, all these pieces are like pieces to a puzzle. And when they're all completed and all done, including the town square, people are going to be begging to get into the town of Riverhead to live here. This is going to be an absolutely beautiful town. And to have a successful town, you need amenities. And there are amenities that come with these projects, and there are amenities that we already have and that we're in the process of doing, the ice hockey rink. We have our own marina down in Jamesport. There's so many things that the town has been involved with in providing for its residents. And now to have a build out of the TOD, which even when I was a little kid, it wasn't the nicest place to be. But to build that out and do, I implore people to take a ride to Farmingdale and take a look and see how they redid it right with the train station there. look at Patchogue, and everybody says Riverhead's not Patchogue. No, we're not, and we're not Farmingdale either. We're Riverhead. But it doesn't mean that we can't successfully enjoy the needs of a growing community. And in the year 2022, yes, things have changed, but things have changed in my mind for the better. And I'm proud to be here, I'm proud to live in Riverhead, and I'm proud to call it my home. And thank you, people, for investing your time and a lot of your money coming down the road into our beautiful town. So I'm very excited about this, and I can't wait to see it come to fruition.
Madam Supervisor, I failed to mention one other thing. We talked before about the opportunities for black and brown, and also the opportunity to make sure that women are included in this mix. Speaking from experience, when I was a business manager of my local, we used to take in about 12 or 13 people every year for apprentice programs. The instant I became the manager, we actually took in 40. The next year, we took in 40. The next was 38. When I say that, the numbers sound good, but what's more impactful is the fact that in that first group of 40, there were 7 women, and it was 77% minority, which means we become reflective of the community. We give the opportunity, not because they want the jobs, not because they need the jobs, but because they deserve those jobs, and that's what's important. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Anyone else from the board? Well, I just want to add that, thank you guys for coming today. Great presentation. I could see the quality of your work, from your presentation to the PowerPoint. And I just want to backtrack. Someone earlier made a statement saying that the community picked and, you brought it before the town board. Well, there was a very intensive committee from the beginning that was working behind the scenes. And that committee was reflective of our entire community. And we can't forget talking about that. That was the seed that started this. And it reflected all members of the community. And you were the chosen ones. So it didn't happen where we just pulled you off the air and go, okay, that sounds good, or these guys have a good reputation. And there was a tremendous amount of public input during that process. So you just walk in the door and say, look at us, here we are, pick us. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. And does anyone from the board?
I have a comment. The one thing that I'm really concerned about, and I see, I see a lot of development, whether it's Farmingdale, or it's Glen Cove, or Patchogue, or Wantagh, is that I don't want somebody coming from any of those places and seeing the same architecture here, if you know what I mean. This should really, really be different. I understand the pattern book, and when I look at the side of what's going to be parking on this side, all of a sudden it gets multicolor. And I say to myself, well, it's in other towns up west, and I don't want to travel somewhere to see the same architecture that I left. And it's not, I'm sure you guys will figure that all out. And I think we need this road that's here by the train station, because we have a shortage of roads. If you haven't noticed that driving around.
All roads lead to Riverhead, right?
But anyway, thank you guys.
So,
I know you spent a lot of time, and I really
let me just wrap
appreciate
it up, if I don't mind. I don't know if we have anybody, no one? Not for the public portion? So before we open it up to regular comments on any matter, we just want to close this particular hearing. Is there anyone before us, in front of us, that want to come forward? Okay, so thank you, everyone. We're going to close this portion of the public hearing, and now we're going to open it up for public comments on any matter, whether it's online or it's in front of us at the audience. Anyone from the audience want to come forward on any matter? Okay, Chip, do we have anyone on any matter? Okay, who do we have? We have Mike Foley again, okay. Thank you.
I need to get that girl's card.
And I just want to reiterate, we're going to leave the public, gentlemen, we're going to leave the public portion open for written comments until 4:30 on Friday, September 30th, 2022, at the clerk's office. So this coming Friday, September 30th, 2022, for comments at the town clerk's office.
And meanwhile, all their financials and everything will be posted so that the
Yeah,
public can have access.
they put it up there, yeah. I haven't seen it, so.
No, I haven't either, that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I'm saying, we need time to digest that.
Definitely. You have that, Frank? So we're gonna leave it for.
Yeah, no, I
Friday,
understand, yeah.
okay. We have to speak to, Ken, let him know, and we gotta, where did, take care. Okay. Bring him from, no, well, let's just wait, he probably just went to the restroom. Where did he go? Come.
Was it my turn?
Mike can
Huh?
speak, right?
Is it my turn?
Yeah, Mike can speak.
Yeah, okay, yeah, bring him up.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna wait, we don't know how long he's gonna be. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Yes, Mike Foley, Reeves Park. You know, we spoke about the pattern book. It was mentioned a handful of times tonight. And, you know, the last I remembered, the pattern book had been unanimously approved by the town board. And then there was apparently at a subsequent meeting, an objection from one of the developers stating that the greening of the town square would result in less used space for the developers, which equated to less profit. And I was not privy to the meeting, nor did I hear firsthand what happened. But it was my understanding that the pattern book resolution was tabled. Is that correct?
Yes, Mike, I believe it was tabled several weeks ago at a meeting, and what's that?
Well,
No, it didn't, we had the public hearing, and the resolution wasn't put forth.
Right.
We just had the public hearing.
Yeah, we did the public hearing, we didn't put the resolution forth yet. The Business Advisory Committee was going to be meeting.
That's right.
And they wanted to get back with some suggestions to us, and we haven't heard back from them with their final suggestions yet. So as
Thank
soon
you,
as
Jim.
that happens, then we will get that resolution back up.
So,
Thanks, Tim. You know, my big concern was that there was an awful lot of people that had input there. And of course, when you are insisting on green space, you are taking what the developers consider usable space, and you're eliminating that usable space. So we understand that this might cut into the margins of the developers, but if we're looking to truly develop a town square that we can be proud of, that is green and is ready for the future, we cannot stop because a developer whines about making 18% instead of 23%. We got to proceed with the project, and I'll be very interested in how this moves forward, hopefully promptly over the next 2 or 3 months. And finally, all of these developments that we're talking about here, the one thing that we are not looking at is the cumulative impact of all of these developments. You know, 555 just dropped a 10 million square foot bomb on the town of Riverhead, talking about both runways being used and a build out of 10 million space. And now all of a sudden they're talking about logistical centers and stuff that I have never heard of before. Now, granted, I might not be in the know on all this, but here's what I do know. I know we have 3 projects for space like that, comprising 2 million square feet within a couple of miles of Calverton. HK Ventures flew through the planning board, even though they did not meet the secret requirements, as was stated chapter and verse by Barbara Blass. If you didn't make one of them, one of the 4 conditions, it was supposed to stop it. They missed all 4. And yet HK Ventures was approved. And now we have another one coming before us now that we heard a tremendous outcry against it. I ask you guys again, Tim, Yvette, I know you mentioned you were in favor of an anaerobic digester and a battery storage moratorium. Although there's no code for it right now, so really a moratorium is really not necessary. They can't build it, there's no code for it. But at least it sends the message to people that we are taking a cumulative look at the growth as being contemplated in the town of Riverhead. And guys, we need a moratorium on everything that is not residential developed. And you're going to be hearing more about that in the future. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hang on, Jefferson, I think.
And
wants to
if I could
address.
just clear something up, Mike, the comments in the proposed changes that went back to the Business Advisory Board on the pattern book, my recollection is they didn't relate primarily to green space. There was some design questions they had about it. I think size of windows and shape of the roofs, I believe, if I'm recalling that right.
Yes, that's correct.
And any proposed changes or requested changes that come out of the Business Advisory Committee that are implemented into the code, if it's a substantial change, we would be required to hold another public hearing on it prior to adopting a amendment to the local law.
Okay. Yes, Jeff?
I apologize for interrupting this gentleman. Jeff Murphy for the record. Just one correction for Mike. HK Ventures has not been approved. The planning board adopted an FEIS, the final environmental impact statement. We have not issued a finding statement.
Time's up.
It applies to employees?
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess it applies to staff as well, so I gotta talk faster. But Mike, just so you know, and to the board and to the public, it has not been adopted. There has to be a finding statement. And the question was raised on some things that were lacking in the draft scope. We're going to address those. So the project has not been approved at this point. SECR has not been completed at this point. So it's still an ongoing application.
Okay.
Right, the final scoping report was going to be addressed and completed
Correct.
for that.
Good. Great. Okay.
Grant Newberger on behalf of the Nassau Suffolk Building Trades again. Totally unrelated to our previous public hearing. Just wanted to advocate on behalf of the Long Island First policy for the IDAs. Now, I know that you as the town board don't have direct oversight on the IDAs, but you do appoint. Long Island First policy would just add another layer to help protect us as the local labor force. I have presented this to the IDA. It has been adopted by both the Suffolk County IDA and the Brookhaven IDA. The Brookhaven supervisor support letter was passed along to the IDA at the last meeting. Again, just trying to maintain as much economic benefit locally as possible.
Have you presented it to the Riverhead IDA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I meant to say I have presented it to the Riverhead IDA on 2 different occasions, and they have also been presented with the support letter from
Okay.
the Brookhaven Town Supervisor as well.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Tim, you want to come forward? Thank you, everyone. This concludes our meeting for today. Can I have a first and a second to close the town board meeting and the CDA meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So move. Everyone, please be safe. Have a good evening.